Good content.
Do you want me to repeat
See you
it
guys
for you?
later.
Bye,
Oh,
Mitt.
no, you can stay done.
Enjoy the
I mean,
stream. Oh, well, I mean, you guys do your thing. Stay focused.
Okay,
I just came to say hi.
sounds good.
Okay.
Well, we're already
See
live,
you.
so bye, Mitt. And hello, internets.
hello, Internet.
Excuse me, internet.
Hello, and excuse me.
Hmm.
See y'all later.
Bye, Mitt.
Bye.
Damn it.
Mitt's gone.
So Rich doesn't have Prettier installed on his.
I installed the extension, but I don't know how to set it up.
Oh, yeah.
Like slowly. Sorry?
So you need to set up your Mac again, huh?
Yeah, to set up the coding environment. I mean, I think I did the basics, like such as installing Python and Node.js.
Yeah.
And on VS Code, I've installed Python, Pylance, Prettier, LiveShare, and I think it installed Jupyter by default. Because I didn't intentionally install that, but it was there.
Okay. So that's good. You were able to get through the majority of the stuff. Mitt says gone, but also not gone. But he's gone now. Okay. It was fun to see the chat work correctly.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the chat worked correctly. Well, let's we can spend some time after the stream setting up the environment more.
Okay.
In the meantime, though, I dropped you a live link to my editor, so the only thing you need for that is the LiveShare extension.
Let's take a look. Wait, where's my Discord? Oh, there it is. Minimized.
So I used our new Stream Trio chat channel.
Okay, so it says you're running VS Code in applications folder, so we cannot install support for joining sessions using a browser link. Oh, but I'm in here now, right?
Yeah, I see you just joined. Let me close this shared RC. Are you in review edit?
Review edit JS. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I see you. That's good.
Have you seen this notification before? It says outside of the applications folder.
Yeah, kind of ignore all those things.
Oh, should I ignore it? Okay, I'll just ignore it for now. I'll take a look into it later. All right, what do we have planned today?
What do we have planned today? I was planning to do a bit of refactoring. And walking through some of the code as well as part of the homework. And then I thought we could add a feature to the app. Whatever feature we could think of, we could start on it today, and just see how far we get.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So should we start with homework then?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. So which file are we reviewing?
Let's do. It was between main and review edit, right?
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Opening notes. Oh, no, just reviews, not main. Oh, sorry, main and reviews, both of them.
Okay. So which one did you... Oh, you did both of them, you mean?
Those were the two ones that we were supposed to do.
Ah, okay. Should we start with main?
Let's start with main.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Let's go through it then. Why don't you lead through? Talk about whatever you feel like.
All right. I mean, I guess starting from the top, looks like we're importing our essentials here in order for main to operate. I don't have all the correct terminology, but I can take a look here and try to just break it down based on what I can see.
Yep.
So for material UI, so that's our front end side of things. Box, container, fab, grid, linear progress. So that's looks like I know in material UI we need to be able to have sections that are dedicated towards I guess specific sections of the web page or the app. And the next part here is looking for our authentication side of things with React.
So let me add some stuff. So for line 3, these are essentially the UI components that we're using to build the front end. And line 4 are the React hooks, that we're using for authentication. Continue.
So from here, it looks like we have more front end UI add-ons here. Like almost looks like added based on a needed basis. Avatar header. Actually, I don't know what that one is.
So avatar header is an external is one of the components that we built together. So we're importing avatar header here on line 7 from the avatar header file over here.
Okay. I see that. Okay. And next step we have the exit to app. I'm not sure what that one is either.
So line 6 and line 8 are icons. So we've imported those. They're just for displaying icons in the view.
Okay. All right. And so then here reviews is importing from the other JS file here, reviews, which is an S. Just a breakdown for, I guess, the inputs that we have in our database.
So the reviews will be the list of all the reviews that currently exist. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And styles here. I'm assuming that's just like the style of the front end that we're pulling from, like a specific UI style.
So yeah. So line 11 imports a tool called makeStyles, which is a function. And it's a function that allows us to create a style hook called useStyles, which is what we end up making here. And what this is doing is essentially providing us with the ability for us to generate CSS, the style sheet. So in this case here, we're generating a CSS object called container that allows us to apply that to an element in our app and position things the way we want. So I'll show you what this kind of does in a bit. We can do that. Continue.
Okay. And so like you said, I mean, these are objects here.
Correct. Yeah, these are objects.
Associated with CSS. Coordinated by an arrow function under make styles, which we imported over here.
Yep.
And we created a constant useStyle so that we can, assuming using it down here, or perhaps another function will be calling main somewhere to useStyles.
So here we have line 21.
Oh, there it is. Okay. And oh, this in the event where we need to export the function main, um, these are the other exportable contents of the main function.
These are so main will be accessible when we'll be able to import this object called main if we import from main.
Mm-hmm.
These entries at the top here are all the hooks that we want to run in React. So the first line here, line 21, runs the use styles hook, which gives us access to the classes that we've defined in up here in the make styles function. So we'll be able to say classes.container, for example, to get the container thing.
Object.
Yeah. And then this one here retrieves the current user that's logged in. And this one here retrieves the auth function, the auth object from there. And then this one retrieves the Firestore object. So,
Okay.
yeah. So this will allow us...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, these will allow us to use them. We'll be able to use these things in this function now that they exist. That's kind of like how it's because we said use styles, we'll now be able to use the styles in this function. That's where the use function comes from in the hook.
And I mean, the idea here is that we're creating this so that we don't have to keep retyping it within each page of the app. It'll have like a preset that'll allow us to have a container to start creating content in. Make sure we have user information, authenticating the user, and that we can store the data that is being used inside the app, the page of the app.
The Firebase.
Firebase, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have. So there is a condition in React where you do have to have all your hooks sort of at the top of the file. Well, that's not technically true. You can have them in other places. You just can't conditionally execute them, and so it kind of makes sense to just always have them at the top.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And this next part here. I see. So if what this is doing is while I guess that the user hasn't been reported yet, it indicates that the status is loading, like it displays a loading.
Yeah.
Status.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And this looks like HTTPS.
You mean
CSS.
HTML? Yeah.
Yeah. HTML.
It does. So what happens is if the user is null or the status is loading, then we'll return linear progress for this component's HTML. So linear progress is, I'll show you. So here is linear progress, and what it displays, and it's not showing. Let's go to the progress. So this is circular progress here.
Oh, right. Okay.
And linear progress is, where is it? Here it is, linear progress. No, these are.
Oh, that's fine. It's like it shows like a buffering kind of style. Oh, okay, I see. Linear progress, linear determinate.
Yeah, so these are the different kinds of linear progresses that we could have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, generally, it's usually pretty fast, so it fills up.
Yeah, with a fast internet connection, it'll last you won't see it for very long. But it will be right at the top of the page under the address bar, if it does show up. Yeah. So this is the one that's going to be displayed. So this is linear progress here, and we don't have a percentage to pass to it, so it'll just display this linear progress like this.
I see. And then because, I mean, it's just we're pulling on the one, I guess ID or image. I don't know what to call that. Is it
this thing
like
here?
an animation?
Yeah, it's an animation.
So because it's not like there's no parameters that we need to build on it, we don't need to like put anything in between.
You mean
Like say, like for example, like perhaps it just comes as a default setting, and like you can't like adjust any aspect of the linear progress animation.
Right. So if you look down here, you can see the other arguments that can be passed, right? So we use this default indeterminate linear progress, but there are arguments that you can pass to make it behave differently. So like you can have different colors. You can actually pass a progress value if you have like if you knew how far along you were in the operation, you could pass it a progress value and then it would correctly update. And this buffer one down here has like two different values, one for the absolute progress and one for the buffer progress.
Right.
So like you might use this if you were playing a video, for example. Like the progress bar would be where you are in the video, and the buffer value would be how much of the video you've downloaded.
Right.
And then here's one with a label with the number over here.
Question. So for the progress section of that, would that mean that you would need to be somewhat tied into the computer's like download speed and like, or to be able to understand like the feedback or the hook, I guess, that the linear progress bar would require to actually show you how much time is remaining or how much percentage is remaining inside the progress?
Yes, you would need some way of not necessarily tied into it, but you would need the ability to calculate how much you've achieved so far in order to update the progress bar. So yes.
Okay. All right, and then the next step here, looks like what it is we create another constant so that we can quickly pull the user's information from the database, Firestore database, including the user themselves, I guess their user ID.
So you're talking about this line 30?
Yeah, right here.
So what this one is doing is, let's see. So it goes to the Firestore database, and it pulls the collection of users, and then gets the specific user that is logged in. And then we ask for the entries of the existing user, and then we create a new doc. That's what this line is doing. And then we get the ID of that doc. So the purpose of this is to generate an entry ID so that when we go to create a new entry, we have an ID that we can pass to the page that will be saving the entry.
Okay. So, and what you mean by that is like when, like if they are creating a new entry ID, that's when it would be used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll show you. We can actually we did this a long time ago, and I can just show you, and it might be better for the stream anyway, just to see it happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also just based on the way that you wrote it here, it almost looks like a regex or something. But I'm guessing a new line indicates that it's calling Firestore.collection, then new line Firestore.doc, and then Firestore.collection again.
Yeah, so this syntax is basically, it's called fluent, I guess is the word they use. But basically the idea is this. You can have each of these dot something is a method call on an object. If you recall from our JavaScript tutorial, you can have these methods on objects, right? So here's the idea. We can say const users is equal to this, right? So now this users is an object that is a collection of all the users. So now let's say we want to get the specific user entry for the current user ID, then you can do it like this. You can say const current user is equal to users dot doc, and then you pass it the user ID you want, right? So now let's say we want the entries, the journal entries that this user has, like the entries collection, essentially, right, of this user. So we can call this const entries is equal to the current user dot collection of entries, right?
Oh, okay.
And now let's say we want to create a new entry in the entries collection. The way we'd write that is we'd say entries dot new doc, right? So this creates, let's call this new entry, entries dot doc. Now, let's say we don't want the actual doc. Let's say we just want the ID. And the reason why we just want the ID is because we want to go to the, we want to use that as the name of the entry when we go to save it, if the user goes to save it. In which case, we would say entry ID is equal to, oh, we already have it next. So, but at this point, oops, yeah, like this, new entry dot ID. And so this is just a short way of writing all of this.
Wow, so it's creating constants as it's going through each pass.
That's one way of thinking about it. But the other way of thinking about it is that this is a Firestore object, and then we call this dot collection of users. And so the return of this method is the users. And so we can do something directly with that object, right? We can directly just say dot doc on that object, because this dot is essentially calling a method on the object that was returned. So the object that got returned is this collection, and then we just call this. And now that this returns the user's document object, and we can then call, give me this user's collection of entries. Yeah, so that's the idea here.
And it's this specifically is pulling from Firestore itself, like the user UID.
Yeah, this user UID, oh, it's supposed to be UID here. This user UID is, yeah, it is coming from Firestore. We can go there. Let's go there. Firebase. And how do I log into the console? Go to console. And LivreJournal. So let's go to the real-time database. Oh no, Firestore database. Okay, here we go. So we go to the users, right? And then if you go to the users, you have, this is the users collection. The user.uid is one of these IDs here, right? And this UID here comes from Firebase. Firebase gives us a unique identifier for the different users. And so if we go to one of these users now, there's a set of collections. In this case, we care about the entries collection. So if we go to the entries collection, we now have a set of entries. And by calling .doc on it, we are creating a new doc. It's like clicking this add document button. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just between like these two, ways of writing this code.
Yeah.
Would you say that like any one is more secure than the other? Like just in terms of like maybe even just based on the fact that it's more complex to, well, I would say this is simplified, but in the sense of like being able to pull fluently, like I think the word you used was fluent. Would you say that this is more secure than to do something like this?
Not so much secure, but just when you've become accustomed to chaining methods on objects, this is just a little bit simpler to read. Like
Okay.
the way to read it is take the Firestore object and retrieve the collection of users. Then retrieve the specific user whose user ID is user.uid. Then retrieve that user's collection of entries. Then create a new doc. Then get the ID of that doc. It's sort of a nice way to just be like, do this, then with the previous object, do this, then with the previous object, do this, then with the previous object, do this, and you can you're basically chaining these commands one after the next. And it just allows you to write, less code.
Yeah.
We're missing someone.
Hello.
Why are
Hey
we
Charlie,
missing
what's
another
up?
person?
It's a rich centric
She's slacking.
today.
Yeah. Satch is
She's slacking.
she's slacking. She's there, but she's working on her interview for tomorrow.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I may interject,
Yes, Charlie.
Richard.
Yeah.
So the top style is kind of like in math when you're writing out equation. Top style is like 2 + 2 = 4. And then you take 4 + 2 = 6. And then you go 6 + 2 = 8. Like you're doing that versus the bottom style is 2 + 2 + 2 + 2 + 2.
Yeah.
You get the
Mhm.
difference?
Right. Yeah. So it's like
That's it. So it's you're doing the exact same thing versus one of them you're writing an equal sign once, as you can see. The other one you're writing equal sign 5 times.
Right.
That's it.
Yes.
Now I may disappear into the silence.
That's quick maths. That's quick maths, you guys.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah.
That's so cool. Like being able to kind of just chain things like that.
Mm-hmm. It's a useful. I think it's one of the. I generally am not a big fan of object-oriented programming in general, but.
What does that mean?
I like functional, so.
Yeah. So there's something like this one particular aspect of object-oriented programming is nice. But you can also have this in functional programming. So
Yeah.
it's not limited to just this. But for what object-oriented programming is, this is a nice aspect of it. The way that you can essentially chain commands based on the object that gets returned.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah, why not
Neat.
both? Jesse has a good point. Why not both? Well, the territory we might be getting into is a very interesting discussion, but probably maybe at a level that won't be very useful to Rickles.
So it's like almost like the philosophy or something behind like using one versus the other.
Oh yeah. You'll find some diehard fans in both camps here, functional versus otherwise.
Yeah, one camp is wrong.
I tend to also agree with that, but one can't argue with the fact that the majority of languages that have succeeded are object-oriented. So that's unfortunately, I think, the final say,
Like if it works.
Yeah.
Did we check his go ahead.
No, go ahead, Charlie.
I wanted to see if Richard did his homework or if we get to just give him an F and call it a day.
We're going through the homework right now.
Oh, okay. You did
But the
main?
thing is, sorry?
You did main.js?
Yeah. Well, we're going through it and just like kind of addressing the things of what I think of
I see.
the code. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I shut up now.
No, thanks for jumping in. It's fun. This is a good aspect of the stream. All right, so
to continue?
yeah, we can continue. Let's go.
All right. So here we have a return statement
Mm-hmm.
for So if is here. So it's not associated with if. We're returning the layout for the app.
That's right.
This is the HTML.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, we're starting with the avatar header. So that's the when after you're done logging in, you'll have our Google account, and then it'll be the Google UI there for the Google account, and then a list of the reviews. I guess this is the homepage main, right? And we have another container here. I'm not sure what disable gutters means.
Oh, yeah. Don't worry about it. It's an argument to the container.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see. And then it's asking to, by default, max the width of the container in the web page based on the size of the web page, which is the size of the window. And looks like we have a box within the container and a grid within a box.
Yeah, this is fine. We don't need to go through it. It's fine. Looks good.
Oh, but then there's a thing here which I think I remember a bit about it. On clink async await. It's like sign out. Okay, so an await function is here, and what we're doing is unless it's waiting for in the event where it's being clicked, it will then sign out. Is that right?
Yeah, essentially.
Something like that.
Yeah. Long story short, yeah. So the way to read this, we actually never covered this in our JavaScript tutorial, but auth.signout doesn't happen immediately. It takes time to run, and so in JavaScript there's this way to do something asynchronously. The word that is used is called promises. Basically, this sign out promises to eventually sign you out once the web server on the other side has signed you out. We've done a bunch of this when we were playing around with the code that we were writing for the poker game. Yeah, and essentially what this is saying is this promise here that gets returned, this promise to sign you out, wait for it to complete. Wait for the promise to be resolved is the word that is used, but essentially it's like, I promise that I will do this, and then the await just basically says, okay, I will wait for you to actually, hold up your end of the bargain. Now, the interesting thing is, whenever you await, if you ever need to await that someone will resolve a promise for you, it automatically means that you yourself have become a person who returns a promise. Because if you're waiting on someone else who has promised you something, if anybody wants something from you, you also have to say, okay, I promise I will do this, but that's because I'm waiting on someone else to resolve a promise for me. And so that's what's going on here. Here we await the sign out, while at the same time, we're saying that this is a function that needs to be awaited. That's what this async is.
So in the event where, like, say someone is, they click sign out, but then they close a window.
Yep.
So does that mean that it's still, regardless on if the window is open or closed, it's still waiting for that promise to be fulfilled?
That's a very interesting question. The answer is all of this only matters if the browser window is open.
Okay.
Yeah. The people when we're talking about these promises, it's all within the context of the code that's executing in your browser. So if you close the browser window, that context is gone, right? So whatever you might have been awaiting, all of this stuff is just gone. Remember that coding is, especially this kind of coding, it's for programmers, not really so much for computers, right? This is like, we're writing this code for humans to understand what's going on. This just happens, like this whole promises thing with async and await. All of this stuff is meant to make it easier for programmers to write asynchronous code without actually having to deal with the complexity of what asynchronous code means under the hood, right? We'll get into that later, but long story short, these things are just to help us as programmers write code that is asynchronous. So if you close the browser, you've essentially taken away one party from the communication, from the bidirectional communication, right? You have a server, you have a client. If the client goes away, client's gone, there is nobody waiting on anything anymore, right? The server just loses connection to whatever it was talking to. And the browser will take with it whatever state it had. And if you close the browser, then whatever code was running, maybe there's some small amount of cleanup code that gets to run, but that will just ultimately terminate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. So what I was thinking was that I thought it was kind of a curious situation of, even in the event where you close like the client, like it will still, be waiting for the promise to be signed out. So it will fulfill the promise of being signed out even if the client closes. But the client closing essentially just auto signs out. Is that?
Oh, I see. So
it's almost as if like it's some sort of like security feature or something like that.
right. So if you close the browser before the full negotiation happens for the sign out, so sign out might be special, but like in general, if you don't actually wait for the promises to fulfill, there's a chance that it doesn't actually succeed. In which case, those things won't happen. Now, sign out, I don't even know why you need to await. Like, you don't technically need to await that. Signing out usually just means throw away whatever token you have that establishes your identity to the server, right? You can do that locally. The purposes of maybe communicating to the server there's probably reasons, but likely if you throw away your token immediately and then go to the server to say that you want to be signed out, you're probably signed out anyway. Just the act of throwing away the token will do it. That part is not asynchronous. So in this particular case for sign out, you're probably fine. However, if you were signing in and you had to await for the sign in to happen and you had to do the full procedure, you're likely not signed in if you closed your browser before the promises resolve. Because in order for when the promise resolves in a sign in, usually you're going to be getting a token from the server, and you need to save that token in order to be signed in. If you recall when we were doing the poker game, to sign, like there is even, you authenticate with Google and then you save a token into your session data, and then you use that token to talk to the poker server. And that's how the poker server knows who you are. If you close the browser before you store the token, you're not signed in. You didn't get the token. And closing the browser is just one way to interrupt a promise, right? There's many things that could have happened. The internet can go down. You might have typed in the wrong password, so the procedure doesn't actually succeed. Anything can happen at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, it's that like ultimately it's still a computer and it's not gonna continue something that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so by something is just going to, it's just not going to work.
But here's the benefit of I don't know if I want to go over this right now. I will. Okay, just very briefly. Let's say you're trying to sign in, and we've written this code before. Maybe we could even just open up the old code. But when you sign in, you need that token. You need to store that token in order to talk to the poker server, right? Same with this. If you sign in Firebase, you need it to log in. Let's look at the login. So here's login. Here we are signing in. Now, so a lot of the tools that we're using here are obfuscating some of the fundamentals that are happening, but the gist of it is this: you're going to sign in here, right? And you need to await it. And the reason why you need to await it is because the browser needs to save the token. So you need to wait for that token to arrive, and then you'll store it. Now, this is obfuscating that process, but it would be there. And in our poker game, we did it explicitly. And in the poker game, you get you await the sign in, and then you get back a token like this, right? And then you take the token and you put it into your session data, so that you can reuse it later, when you're like in the lobby, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what the advantage, like all of this is just to make it easier for us to work with this code, because now we can say like window dot local, what is it? Local session storage, whatever. I don't know how to do this. Set item, I guess. So I see. Hold on. I haven't done this in a while. Set item. And then the key would be like token, and the value would be the token itself, right? Like, look at what's happening here. This thing here is running, and it has given us a promise that it will finish. Now, the computer is going to, if we say await on this thing, the computer is going to say, okay, when that promise is resolved, I'll come back to this and give you the token here so that you can store it in the next step. So in other words, this part here is not going to execute. It's going to wait for this to happen.
Right.
Right? But that doesn't mean it should stop doing everything, right? The computer is still going to go and do other things, right? If it had to just wait, then that means the computer can't do anything while you're getting the token. So your computer would just freeze, right? Or your browser would freeze, or your process would freeze, or whatever. This whole thing here is just making it easy so that, like, we're essentially telling the computer, for the moment, until I have the token, until the promise resolves, you can do other things. That's what this is essentially saying. Does that make sense?
Nice.
Yeah. And that's
So just to throw out like a hypothetical. So like say in the event where, you're in the lobby and you're trying to sign in, but the lobby's live. You can still see the lobby kind of in action while you're trying to sign in.
Or multiple things could be happening, right? Like you are signed in, and you're doing multiple things there. You're waiting for messages from the server, for example, right? Just waiting. Like, the reason why you're waiting is because you want to see when new people log in. You want to see them show up in the lobby, and you want to see them like appear, right? So if you couldn't await on a promise, right? Then you would have to like constantly check. Hey server, is there some new people there? Hey server, is there some new people there? And you'd be constantly checking. In this case, you can just say, I know messages will arrive for me. When they arrive, like, let me know, essentially. And that's what this syntax is, allowing us to do.
Wow. That's so cool.
Isn't it? I think so too. Asynchronous programming is both interesting and hard. Mm-hmm.
See, that's kind of like strange, right? Because I think humans are naturally asynchronous.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it comes to writing code, thinking about things asynchronously is sometimes it's a little bit weird.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think we are, as people, we do asynchronous things all the time.
It's
like
true.
You like Richard, if you say, hey Sachi, can you go grab me some coffee? That's doing something asynchronously, because Sachi will go get you coffee while you do something. You don't stop everything you're doing until Sachi comes back with coffee, right? You keep doing what you're doing. So that's example of you doing something asynchronously.
But imagine in this coffee scenario that you want to take a sip after you get coffee. So you say sachi.getCoffee and then parentheses, right? If you don't put an await there and your next statement is coffee.sip, right? The coffee hasn't arrived yet. Right? So like you'll try and take a sip and then it won't exist, right? So the idea of awaiting here is wait for the condition to be satisfied before you take that sip. Your coffee has to exist in your hands before you can take the sip, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. So in the event where the arrow function didn't say await, then it would essentially try to do something that hasn't become available yet.
Correct.
That's right.
Hmm.
So the coffee is like the token, right? And Sachi's like the command, like when you make a request to the server, right? And the coffee.sip, the sipping of the coffee is storing the token into local storage. In this analogy.
Now you understand asynchronous, Richard. Go write a book about it.
I feel qualified, you guys.
There's actually so much more to this that's really quite amazing. It's too much to get into, but like this is the newest way of doing things. The old way of doing things is this returns a promise that something's going to happen. And instead of awaiting the promise, you need to say promise dot when resolved, do this next thing. And you pass it a function that it will call for you when it's done. This is sugar. You can think of it as sugar. It makes things prettier that you don't have to do that anymore. Because like that was ugly code. Well, I mean, I guess that's arguable. But just to give you an idea, like, should I do this now? Yeah, why not? Okay. We're having fun, aren't we? So this is essentially a promise. And I can say promise. It even tells you there, right? Our VS Code is telling us this is a promise. Promise dot then. And in here, we can now pass a function. The function would be the result of the promise. So it looks like the result here is a user credential. So we can say credential, I guess. And then this is an arrow function. And then we can now do something with this. We can say, what was I going to say? Something like window.localstorage.setItem. Again, token, and we pass the credential or whatever. I don't know. This is all wrong, just so you know. None of this works. But the idea is here, right? The bit that matters is here we've created a promise. And then when the promise resolves, we pass it a function. And so when the promise resolves, this function gets called. And and the function gets called with the credential, which we can then do this in. Like do this thing. But compare that to this other version of the code. So this is the old nonsense. And this is the new hotness, right? So the new
hotness.
So here you can just say credential. And then just directly do it. See what I'm saying? So the new hotness, we don't have to create a separate function and pass it around and all kinds of stuff. Just await the promise, and then we'll have it, and then use it. So we can write procedural looking code even though it's asynchronous.
But under the hood, Richard, they both are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I would go one step further than that and say not just under the hood, they are in fact the same thing. I think this compiles to this.
Yeah. So that's like we call it syntactic sugar.
Yeah, sugar. It's sweet, right?
You don't have to write all that.
To even get to the point where like they would go ahead and simplify such a thing, they would have had to have like such large. I feel like they must have had to go through such a big discussion or to go ahead and create something like that, wouldn't they?
So the reason why this has happened is because imagine if you had to do this many times. Imagine you now needed, let's say you had to take this credential and then go to the server and do something else with it. And then you had to do something else with it. And every time you get something back, you need to do something else. You end up with this chain of stuff that's basically promise that this, return a thing, then promise.then return a thing. It'll start to look like this. So let's say that you're going to do something with the credential now. So you're going to do server.do something with credential. And then you pass it the credential. And now this is a promise, const promise2. And now you need to promise.then again, promise to dot then, and now you have to pass it another function, which now takes another argument, thing to whatever. So like this is quickly getting out of hand. Like your code's going to get more and more indented as you interact more and more with the server. Like every time you interact with the server that needs something from the previous step, you end up indenting again. So like the old nonsense becomes, it works just fine. It's starting to get kind of hard to read. Not, you know, my variable names notwithstanding. But yeah, new hotness. With the new hotness, you can just, every time you do something, just await, get back the result. Yeah. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, let's put all this stuff back. That was quite a discussion. We're going way outside of the kind of things that I was thinking we were going to talk about today, but that's fine. Undo.
I keep derailing you guys.
No, this was...
No, it's kind of my curiosity too.
Yeah, it's pretty much... Yeah, it's pretty much Rickles, I think, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all his fault.
I agree. All right, I think we've spent enough time on this. Let's do some refactoring. We've got 45 minutes just talking about code, not doing anything. So let's refresh ourselves on the app working. I'll keep your face on the screen there. Okay, so here's the app, and this is the main page that we were looking at. Oh, sorry, Rickles. I think I do have to cover you up shortly so that I can go through the code and the thing at the same time. So we have the avatar header. That's this, right? And then we have all the reviews, which is this, which right now I have one. Yeah, that's true, Jesse. Most of coding is talking and thinking about coding. The actual, I think there's that whole, I saw, you know, on YouTube you can watch those videos about like the reality of something versus what people think, and then the people think you got, you know, a guy with like green moving up and down with shades on or whatever. Yeah, playing some techno music, and then the reality is you're Google searching all the time and just not writing any lines of code. You write one line of code and then it fails, and then you search Stack Overflow for why it failed. Yeah.
I love how when people assume because you're a developer, you must be like fast at typing.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
I've seen programmers 2 fingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
It happens. Yeah, but that's not Jesse. Jesse loves his keyboards. He's my keyboard. He's the guy I would go to if you wanted to know about keyboards. So, okay, sorry. Back to this. So yeah, these are the reviews. Tom Sawyer, and then this container. All this code is actually just for the buttons down here.
Boy. Yeah.
Yeah. So like. There's this one little, this box ML2, MR2. I don't remember what it does. Who knows what it does? I'm sure we figured it out at some point, and then now it works. And then this fab, this is a floating action button, is what that fab stands for. And it contains an exit to app icon. So that's this one here. And then we have another fab with an add icon, which is this plus button here. Yeah. And if we click on this, we get to our reviews, which is this file, which was the other file you were going to talk about. But we've talked enough about code. Let's write some code. Let's go to review edit. I made some changes here because it wasn't working, and I wanted working code for our first session back, so I just fixed it. Basically, we needed these default values. But this code is very long, and I think we can do better. So I thought we could work on some refactoring. Let me pull, sorry, you're not visible. There you go. I was thinking we can work on some refactoring. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, okay.
Best practices, let's do this.
Oh, I mean some best practices, not all the best practices, just some. And just so you know, I've met so many engineers who just love refactoring for some reason. So This is you can, if you happen to love this, you're in good company.
Well, it's probably like simplifying like math or something like that, right? Where it's you're taking something and you're just making it smaller and smaller and smaller until you get the most basic version of itself.
Yeah,
Or like
that's-
simplifying fractions or something. Yeah, that's the base, even more basic.
No, that's actually exactly right. And in fact, it's kind of like a game. Most software development isn't like a game. Most feature development, you're adding new things and then you have to write tests for it. Whereas refactoring is kind of like a game because you already, I mean, if we've been good engineers, then we will have written tests, and those tests, when we start doing our thing, they pass. And so refactoring usually doesn't change any existing code. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Refactoring doesn't change the behavior of the existing product. It just changes the code, right? So you can refactor things, and as long as the tests pass, you are succeeding. And so you have this sort of instant gratification feedback loop of you change something and it just works. Yeah.
I could see where some coders would love refactoring.
Yeah.
It's just the dopamine rush that you can get from it.
Yeah. And like you said, reducing things, it is sort of finding the optimal state of the code is kind of a fun thing to do. So yeah, let's try and refactor some code. So what we're going to do is try and make it so that so that we don't repeat ourselves quite as much as we did in this review edit file.
Sorry, I'm just getting my charger here.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So the code that I think is worth refactoring at this point is sort of these bits here, because you'll notice that they get repeated over and over again. That's sort of how you can identify code that might benefit from a refactor. If you see the same thing written, basically copy-pasted over and over again,
Right.
You can make it so that you don't repeat yourself quite as often. So if we're trying to identify the kinds of things, if we're trying to identify repetition, you can just look at what is essentially duplicated over and over and over again, right? So this is duplicated over and over again, right? The typography component legend, this precision. And the thing is, this repetition is not great, right? If we wanted to change, let's say, the precision, we likely want to change the precision for all of them, right? Or if we want to change this favorite icon, so these are hearts right now. If we wanted a different icon, we would want to change all of them, not just one of them. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so by refactoring, we get this benefit that you only have to change in one place to make everything else change consistently. Now, there's going to be some things that are not common for every single one, right? What the words are for here, or what the change variable is, right? Yeah. Okay. And so those ones here will need to be arguments to our refactored component, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. All right. So let's try and make something that makes this slightly more general. So the way to do that is we're essentially going to create a new component. And for now, we can put that component in the same file that we're in. We don't need to actually put it in a separate file just yet. So I'll help you. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to start by copying this piece and pasting it into a new component where we need to give this component a nice name. And this component is essentially going to be the label that we have and the rating.
Label and rating.
Yeah, so the label is like characters, and then the rating is the number of hearts. Kind of looks like Zelda hearts.
I think this is what Ash was going for.
But they're purple.
Yeah,
They're purple.
but they're slightly purple. Yep. Okay, let's go. So,
Okay.
let's copy the code we're gonna refactor,
Okay, so this group right here.
plus the typography.
Just the typography?
No, plus the typography.
Oh,
So
plus.
yeah. And let's go down to the bottom of the file. I think is a good place to start. And
Okay.
let's create a
Might
new function. It's called function. Oh, I love the sound of the new Mac keyboard. I can hear it.
Definitely nicer than the double key press.
Yeah. So we need to give this thing a name. This thing that is the, I guess the heart rating. Maybe we can call it a rating. What do you think? We can call this object a rating. Yeah. So now because this is a component, we want the R to be capital.
Okay.
Yep. And that is a function indeed.
And at this point now, shall we copy our typography and style rating?
You got it. Let's do it. Or paste it, I guess, in this case. Yeah. So we just need to stick a return here. And probably put these in parentheses. And then we broke it. Syntax error. So it says here, adjacent JSX elements must be wrapped in an enclosing tag. Did you want a JSX fragment? The answer is yes, we did want a JSX fragment. So do you want to add it? Do you know how to do it? How to add a fragment?
Is that the... Funny. Oh, it's adding an... Oh, whoops. I did put it in the wrong spot. So that's this.
Yep.
And then ending it inside the parentheses.
Yep. How did you know this?
Well, I do some work. Actually, at work, I do some HTML coding. But it's very minimal. Like I don't do any significant changes because it's not my job, and they paid someone to do it. But I do small fixes when I see like things that are just that don't meet our expectations.
Okay.
So I'm used to seeing this.
Okay.
In some places.
That's fair. I wouldn't have expected you to just know to do that based on the error message that it showed, but cool. That might have been like that. Also could have been a situation where you Google search and then find Stack Overflow and then they explain it in greater detail what you should have done. That's fine though. So new error, syntax error. It says identifier rating has already been declared. So that's interesting. I suggested we use the word rating, but it does look like we imported rating
from
Material UI.
Oh.
So we need a different name.
On, Material.
Yeah. Unfortunately, all the good names are taken. Let's call it... so this
Rating
is... 2. No, don't do that. Charlie's obviously joking. We need a better name. Naming is actually, I think, one of the hardest parts. And this is actually, going back to Jesse's point, most of coding is talking and thinking about coding. like picking a good name is not easy, especially when the best name is already taken. So like this is an instance where, yeah, we would sit down and be like, okay, what's a good variable name for this? And I think we could probably go with like, let's go with, I don't know. Let's see. Our LivreJournal has a description followed by the hearts. So maybe we can call it, and specifically, these are ratings for aspects of the story, right? So maybe we would call it a book rating, or a livre rating, or something like that.
How often do coders lean on thesaurus.com?
Oh,
We actually go talk to each other.
yeah. Which
I just go to my coworker and be like, "Can I name it like this? What do you think?" And like literally all day long.
I think
Ooh, one is rank or
no rank. I don't like rank.
level. What about level?
What about my rating?
I think Charlie's trolling us again. Let's go with either journal rating or livre rating.
Okay.
It's still a rating, right? Well, I mean, the reason why that word came to mind first was because it is a rating, right? So, but we're trying to be more specific. So that's why I'm thinking like a compound name makes sense, right? Because we're essentially specializing this rating for our specific use case. Now, this is code, so it doesn't have to be perfect. In some sense, like rating 2 might have been fine. Like someone else, that's an example of, throwing the puck forward. Let someone else figure it out. Someone else will come along and be like, rating 2, no, fix that. Kent is asking if we could call it the tier. Yeah, I think the same thing applies. Like rating is the best word for this because yeah, it's a rating for the book. I mean, if it weren't the best word, then we wouldn't have collided with the name of the thing that we imported from Material UI, right? That's the key here. So like I said, I think my argument is pick a compound word that contains the word rating that specializes this rating for our use case. So livre rating is fine. Journal rating is fine. We can change it later if we need to as well. Yeah?
Okay.
Yeah. Next, we need to actually put this rating into our code here. So back on line 104, now that we have this livre rating, we need to call it. Yeah, Jesse's saying you can alias imports.
So it takes away it takes away the function name, so that doesn't take up all the good names. Is that what it does?
That's right. Yeah, we could, for example, say import rating as MUI rating from. Oh, is that not how you do it? Maybe it goes here. No. Hold on. Need to Google search. JavaScript import alias. Do that. Import. Oh. Thanks, Jesse. Import rating as MUI rating. Yeah. So this is how you would do it. Import rating as MUI rating. Yeah. This is one way to
cool.
That's one way to do it. I'm happy though with livre rating for now. This is a good way to do it if you want to. If you absolutely want to reuse the word rating, that is a method of doing it. I do have a tendency to prefer just making a compound name. Okay. So now we have livre rating, and there's a couple of errors here. Like we're trying to use things that don't exist. Character rating is not defined. And set character rating is not defined. So we're going to need to pass these in as arguments, right?
Right.
And we're also going to probably need to take this as an argument. And we're probably going to need to take the styled rating name. We may not need to anymore. But we'll see. So, yeah, let's go, yeah? For now, let's comment out the bits of code that are not going to work so that we can just use it, and we can uncomment it as we need. So there are no more errors. Let's use Livre rating in place of characters on line 104.
Livre rating. So like we're changing this out for Livre rating.
Okay.
And do we use it as a function here, and then we have to?
Your intuition is very close, but this is not going to work. That's just going to change character to Livre rating. Do you want to take another guess, or do you want me to show you?
I don't know.
Okay.
I do not know the.
You don't know. So let's take a look at code we've done before. So here's reviews. This is how we used a function that we otherwise wrote called reviews. Does this give you a hint what to do? Where were we?
Oops.
Sorry, I'm moving us around too much. Sorry about that. Okay. Basically, you're going to delete this code, and you will invoke Livre rating as a just greater than, less than. Or I guess it's less than, greater than. Make sense?
Sorry, I'm hopping around.
Okay, I'll help you out here. So we are doing a Livre rating. So this is how you do it, just like that.
Oh wow! Just like that, it's become like you can turn it into HTML now.
Yeah. Remember, this is not actually HTML. This is a type of JavaScript that happens to look like HTML. And just so you know, your intuition was also correct. If we didn't have this magic syntax of stuff, you would call it like a function. Livre rating parentheses, because it's a function. So your intuition that you would want to call it as a function is not wrong. All right, let's give it a try. Run that. Okay, it's beautiful. There's our characters. Now, it no longer works, of course, because we commented out the code that stores this in the Firebase. I'm surprised that actually you can even click on it and that it will hold the value. Yeah, that is interesting that that works, because I commented all that out. But okay. Yeah, sometimes code behaves in ways you didn't know. First thing we want to do, though, is make it so that this characters is an argument so that we can change it as necessary. And we can call this the name or the label. Yeah?
And then we would be having 5 parameters within the function here, so that we can associate them with the parameters inside of the return statement.
Yes. So let's start with just the label, though. So type label. And I know that this isn't going to work. Yeah, so just, that's fine. Label like that.
Okay.
So I know that this isn't going to work. Save that. What happens? Okay, still succeeds. Now, what we want to do is use label here instead of characters, because label is the variable characters, right?
Right.
So here's how you do that.
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead. Type. Go ahead. Yep. Okay. So that is the syntax for making it label. So now it's going to say label, but we want to actually make it an argument that gets interpolated. So in this JSX language, we use these little curly braces around it, and you'll see it a few times that we do that. The curly braces essentially mean hop back to regular JavaScript for a sec so that we can do some regular JavaScript. Make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. And just so you know, all of this is pure JSX wonder. Like normally this kind of stuff will not work in plain old JavaScript. This is just because we were able to write HTML, sometimes you want to go back to JavaScript. That's what this is doing. So this is not working, and I expected it not to work, but I expected it to show a better error message too. So let's see if I can get the error message. There it is. Uncaught error. Objects are not valid as a React child. Found object with keys, blah. Oh, wow. That's an absolutely terrible error message. Invalid prop children. Okay. Okay. Well, the reason why it's not working, I thought this error message might be more helpful so that we could read it together and learn why it's not working. I was hoping to learn from this, but this is just obtuse. So the reason why it isn't working is that this label, we're passing it as a regular function argument, but the way that React works expects this to be different, like this. It expects this to be props, and then props.label. And then furthermore, we need to pass it in here like this. We need to say label is equal to characters. And does that work? Okay. Now,
So this is a product of JSX where we're now we have to follow the language that is presented to us here.
that's your intuition or what you said is essentially correct. The way to correctly phrase it is JSX has imposed a certain set of rules on how these functions need to be written, and we need to follow those rules. In particular, this props object needs to be written like this. Now, there's a little thing we can do here to make this slightly less obtuse. You can say, instead of saying props, you can just put label like this inside these little curly braces, and it will still work.
Huh.
I don't want to go over this now. We're over time already. So I'll just accept for the moment that you can do this, and then yeah, and in the next stream we can talk a little bit about destructuring, which is what is destructuring is a JavaScript thing we just took advantage of. And I know this looks like a dictionary, but that's not what this is actually doing. Okay, so now we have the label argument going in here, and we just need two more arguments. If you recall, so like down here, let's uncomment this code now. We need the character rating, and we need a function to update the character rating. But this is character rating, and we actually just want a generic name for this, right? We want to be able to update a rating. We don't know, it's not specifically character rating. It is a livre rating, and we need to be able to set that livre rating. So we need to pass in this value of rating, and we need to pass in this function, which will allow us to update the rating. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
And because this is the same information that's going to be going into Firebase to store the rating.
That is true. But you don't need to think that far ahead. All of that stuff's already taken care of. All we need to worry about in this nice, beautiful land of refactoring is that we are renaming this, and we are renaming this, and we are making them arguments of this function so that we can control them from the outside.
Okay.
Yeah? So let's do it. Let's add two arguments here. We'll call it rating and set rating. Just add
and
it.
is it as simple as adding a comma and then another set of curly braces?
Almost. it is as simple as just adding a comma and just typing it here. You don't need no additional curly braces right there.
All right, good to know. Leave a rating.
Let's just go with rating. Rating is fine. It's not going to collide with anything because now now the scope of these variables is, I'm using words that you wouldn't know. Where it's not gonna cause a problem.
It's living independently in this one function.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Now let's change this to rating. And let's change this one to set rating. Excellent.
Do we have to set in this like this as well?
Nope.
No?
No.
Oh.
The existing code syntax is correct already for it. Like, so here we're hopping to JavaScript to interpolate the value of rating here. And here we have VS Code is giving us a nice color to tell us that these particular curly braces are sending us to JavaScript, whereas these curly braces are part of are like actual JavaScript things, right? So this is basically saying on change, let's go to some JavaScript, and then this bit of code here is the JavaScript.
Okay.
So the reason why you don't need extra curly braces here is because you're already in JavaScript land.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
From this parentheses here, curly brace. Excuse me. So now we need to pass in rating and set rating, the same way that we did label up here, right?
Okay.
So just say rating equals and curly braces. So not quotes this time, curly braces this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because we're now jumping to JavaScript for a hot sec, and we are passing in the value for rating that was originally what we were just using, right? So here's an example. Here is writing rating. We need character rating here.
I see it here. Let's use the computer to fill it out.
Oh, look at that. That's great. And now do the last one. That looks good. So
okay.
I'm just going to close this thing for you. And we're going to save it. And things have updated. And look, the hearts are now correctly set to 5. I didn't do that. So it actually read the value from the Firebase.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah, I
Sweet.
agree. All right. So we only have to do now, we just need to replace all the other typography style ratings with our fancy new component, right?
Sweet.
So
That's so awesome.
yeah, I agree. So let's see. I'm gonna show you a cool trick in VS Code. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna work? I believe it's gonna work. Okay.
I'm scared.
You're scared? Don't be scared.
Yeah.
So this is so I'm gonna use multiple cursors to just update everything. I think this is gonna work. Is this gonna work? Yeah, this might not work.
Okay,
Yeah.
viewers, is it gonna work?
Let's give it a try.
Yeah, this is where you pull up a bowl.
We
Is it
always
good?
have Command Z.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let's give it a try. I want to have a bit of fun. So we have multiple cursors now. How to do this? Okay, I know what to do. So we're just gonna go like this, and then we're just gonna say livre rating, and then we're gonna close it up. And now we just need to grab the text. Oh yeah, this isn't exactly going to work, is it? It'll almost work. One of them, oh, two of them will fail. So we'll have to manually do two of them. No big deal. Let's go like this. And then like this. Copy. And then go back to our rating and just say label equals quotes. Paste. And then let's fix the ones that didn't work. So that's plot development and
the two word.
Yeah, overall rating. Okay. So now we've got writing and plot development in. The next one we need to get the value down here. So we can use multiple cursors again to select all of them. Fun times, right? And we're just going to go copy. And we just need to put these into each of the livre ratings. So we'll do it like this. And we're just going to say rating equals this jazz.
Oh my word.
And set rating equals the same jazz. But we just need this to be set. Oh, it's not going to work. Because I need to capitalize one letter. I believe, actually, though, there is a tool for that in Edit. Oh, but I didn't install. I didn't install that extension. Hold on. Did I?
Uppercase.
Uppercase, please. Uppercase for me. Oh, I did. Oh, yes. Okay.
Oh wow, nice. Do you command caps lock or something? What is that? How did that work?
No, I did Command Shift P, which brings up the palette of all the things I can do, and then search for it, and then I happened to have it. Okay, let's save that. And now we'll see a bunch of duplicates because we didn't delete the old ones yet. And let's delete the old ones now. So just select typography. And select all of these things and delete them.
Ah.
And then we'll let I thought our tool would clean up the extra lines, but it didn't. Sigh. Manual steps. Sad. All right. Was that? I'm sorry. I just had that. That was my fun for the day. Okay. So here we've managed to refactor the code. This is like a good first pass. At this point, you might want to like move this function, this component, to its own file, like livre rating, right? And then you would say export default function, and then you would import it, and then you would use it. It's also fine to just leave it here. I mean, it depends who you ask, of course. And then
sorry, just before we move forward, because on my code, it's doing this weird thing where if I click any of the other ratings, it only adjusts the character rating. But I don't know if it's the same on yours.
Yeah, did we break it? We didn't exactly test it. Let's see. Refresh the page. Oh, shit's broken. Warning. Failed prop type. Invalid prop value of type string supplied to. What's it talking about? So it doesn't like. Where is it? Oh, I need to source map. This is not ideal. I need to get it to use the source code that we have locally.
Oh, is it pulling from like a past code?
No, what happened? So this JavaScript can't actually run in the browser the way it's currently written because JSX is not real. This is not real JavaScript. A browser can't actually run this. So this gets, the word is transpiled. It gets converted into real JavaScript, where all of these things are actually just the JavaScript that we learned together in our tutorial.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in this case, this is what it gets compiled to. So there is a button in here somewhere, and I've just forgotten where it is, but it will allow you to tell you can just basically say, actually, all of these files are located on my computer here, and then it will show you. It will show you the correct. It will show you the actual code that you've been writing and show you where it where it broke in that code. So I think I have to. I don't know if I have to do something here. Do I have to do something here where I workspace, Shad's workspace, and then we're going to LivreJournal. Source. Is it here? By the way, if chat knows, let me know. No, I'm not doing the right thing.
I'm strictly back end, unfortunately.
I spend almost all my time back end too, so when I'm front end, I can be a little lost. Dev tools. Ooh, allow. Now what? Oh, it didn't do anything. Okay. Well, it's okay. It doesn't matter. We can try and figure this out. Okay, so Livre rating. It had a problem at Livre rating. And let's just refresh the page to make sure that error message is consistent. This is actually just a warning, though. Invalid prop type value.
You gave string
So-
instead of
So does this matter here? Like this section? Just the name?
Oh, yeah, that might matter. Yeah, that might matter. Ooh, that's broken, huh? Okay. So let's just do this fun little thing. We'll just do this. So let me show you a trick. So we basically want this to be JavaScript for a sec. And then backticks allow us to interpolate, if you remember from our class, right? So we can now just have $sign here and put label here. And that will interpolate the value of label into the name of this thing. So we can just reuse that. Does that fix things? Oh yeah, that fixes it. Okay. So that fixes the problem that you were having, Rickles. But it doesn't fix this warning. I don't like warnings in my code. But basically, it looks like prop value of type string, but it expected a number. So it's basically saying that this rating here should be a number, but it's a string. But that's weird because it always has been a string. I thought.
maybe when you fetch it from the source, it comes as a string. It expects a number.
Yeah, it does. Expected number. But we didn't get that error message before, you know? So I'm a little surprised that we're getting it now. Because yeah, it is a string. I did this thing where I defaulted the value to string. Oh, but Java... Oh, do you remember, though, in the class that we did? Do you remember?
That we can make it ignore?
No, JavaScript is dumb because you can coerce a thing from a number to a string, and that's why you need 3 equal signs. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's possible that empty string can be coerced to a number, or it's possible that certain things were not giving me a warning because they were coercing find to a number, and now they're not. Fun. I just love JavaScript. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it's just a warning. We don't have to do anything about it right now. We can always do something about it later. The thing is, we've probably already stored a string in Firebase. Well, these all look like numbers, actually. Yeah, these all look like numbers. Interesting. Hold on. I think there's a chance I broke one of the users, specifically me. That's the Song of Achilles. I don't know what that is. That's definitely not me. Where's Tom Sawyer? Here's Tom Sawyer. Yeah, look at me. I broke it. See?
It's like null all the way through.
It's all empty strings. It's bad data.
Yeah, I've effed up our database. But you can forgive me. I'm allowed to make mistakes.
If the DB was strictly typed, like it has specific columns with specific like type, this can't happen.
That's correct.
But I guess Firebase is just JSON, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
So
I have never used Firebase.
it's actually a good tool. Let's do this thing. So we now know that we don't want to be passing a string here. So this should probably have a default value of something else. But I don't know what the rating should be otherwise. Maybe it should be null. It's just that I put this here because null was a problem. Or maybe just undefined was a problem. Again, JavaScript.
JavaScript.
Like, there's no reason for this to be so... This thing just makes things more complicated. All right. Let's do this thing where I just delete the values that don't matter and hope that this doesn't actually break the app.
So the hope is that noticing that it doesn't have that in the data set anymore, it'll just create another one without any issues.
That is my hope.
It'll default to null is the hope here.
Yeah. Okay. Prop, invalid prop. Oh, did I save it? I did save it. Invalid prop value of type string supplied to this expected number. I thought we fixed it just now. All right, let's refresh the page. Huh. Where is it? It's in the same place though, right? Invalid prop value of type string. It's the same. It's the same. It doesn't like it still. But hold on. Let's clear. Refresh. Yeah, okay. It's still a problem. Value prop on text area should not be null. Consider using an empty string to clear the component or undefined for uncontrolled components. Okay. Should we try -1? Just keep... Oh, I did make a mistake. Hold on. This should be... Content should still be empty string. Only the ratings should be null. Okay. Let's try refreshing that. Okay. But it still thinks...
You only changed one of them. Oh, the contents would be... Okay, I see what you're saying.
So... Oh, hold on. These existing ratings... 5, 5, 5. Okay, I want to just try this. Let's set plot development to 5.
You have to save it in the app too, right?
Oh, you're right. Save it. Okay. And it's saved.
Oh.
So that's good. Oh, and it's saved null into all of these other ones. And then if I refresh the page now... What? None of them... somehow thinks one of them's still a string. Wonder which one it is. Okay, that's it for this stream. It's fine. Here's what we'll do. In the next stream, I will fix my browser here so that we can actually see the code here. And then it might be fun to do a debug. I really like doing debugging, but I don't know. I need to set up this browser to work properly. Basically, the idea is we'll be able to put a little breakpoint so that when that warning gets triggered, we can see specifically what the values of these things were when it failed.
Hmm.
And that'll
So
be
you're
fun.
creating an environment for finding where the error is happening.
Yes.
And to
Yes, because remember when we were doing the lesson, we were always able to console.log things, right? And
right.
technically, we can still console.log here. Let's actually try that before we worry about debugging. So we know that the problem is the rating, right? The console, like this error message is saying the prop value, which is this one here, inside of Livre rating, has type string, but it's expecting a number. So if we console log rating, we should see, yeah, I don't know. Maybe null is just not a good value to be passing here.
Why don't you want to set it to 0 to start, just as a default value before you rated it?
Let's try that. I don't have a particular reason. Let's go with 0. I'm on board. And let's delete these nulls now. Although if this works, it's taking away my reason for doing debugging next time. All right. Clear. Refresh. This is really unexpected, huh? Yeah. That is very unexpected. Okay. Anyway, it's fine. It's just a warning. And we will debug next time. That'll be a fun topic anyway. What do you think, Charlie?
I think so.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
For sure.
So I'm going to figure out what I need to do to change my browser so that in the next stream, I can show everyone just how to do that. And yeah, there is one more thing we can do by the way for this refactoring. So here we decided in the refactoring to pass rating and set rating. But it might be possible instead. Oh, do you see what I see, Charlie?
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
Yeah, I think this is potentially the problem. Yeah. Let's try 0. Okay. Let's try one more time. Okay. Clear. Reload. Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, that was it.
We didn't look high enough. We were looking too low.
Yeah.
A little bit scrolling up, we would have seen it.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Hey, it works.
Indeed. We can get rid of this console.log. Anyway, what I was saying is... No, we can't. I was going to say it might be nice to try and do some more refactoring where we push this stuff down into the function we created here, into our Livre rating. That might be nice to try and do, but the reason why it's not easy to do is that the code that does the actual update of Firebase is here and needs access to these variables. Okay, it's fine though. I think we did a good job with the refactoring. Yeah.
You want to chat? Well, I'll make some more bugs for us to debug.
Yeah, I mean, we can do it anyway. I can put the bug back. It's pretty easy to make the bug happen again. Yeah. We'll just put the bug back and then debug it. All right.
We'll exterminate it because we put the bug there.
Yeah. Exterminate. Well, it'll be... I think knowing what the bug is might be helpful anyway. Cool. Okay, so tomorrow same time as the stream as usual, Charlie and I and Satch and Rickles are gonna have another chat right here about things.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is my favorite stream to watch
Already,
as I work out. But then sometimes in the middle of my sets, something interesting will be happening, and then I just abandon my timer and I'm just watching.
That's cool.
Well, it's good to know that we get your attention.
So you guys are working out your brains. I'm working out my body.
Yeah, nice. Cool.
All right. So for next session, shall we go through reviews? I think that was the other one that we had to go through.
Well, yeah. No, that's okay. We've done enough of that. I mean, we can spend some time on it, but if we are going to do it, let's spend like 10 minutes at most.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just run through
top.
it. Although,
So, like,
yeah. Go ahead, Charlie.
Technically, right? Let's say like right now we have like 8 criterias or something. If you wanted to add one more, can we have done this where refactored it where we could dynamically generate and just pass in like a list of rating categories and then it'll just dynamically generate? We could have done that too, right?
Yeah, we can do that as a next refactoring step. Yeah.
What does that mean? The dynamic.
Yeah.
Color.
Yeah. So Charlie's getting fancy, but the idea is, like, what if we took this stuff, right, and put it in an array instead? Right?
It's like is it one of those like two-dimensional ones?
Just
Just a one-dimensional array.
Yeah.
And as you iterate, you generate those the labels, the hearts, and all of it, so that if there's ever a new rating called like sexiness, then you just add to that list, right? You have a list of characters, writing, plot development, yada yada yada, overall rating, and you just add one more, and then it'll dynamically generate the empty 5 hearts and then the labels and everything.
Yep. And then instead of having like all of these labels one after the next, we can instead loop through all the rating objects and just insert them here. We can use a loop. So
and then that way, kind of like almost customized for the user. They get to dictate, in some ways, what ratings they want to include or exclude, or just include.
Yeah, that's another way of looking at it. Yeah, you could have dynamic. You could make it so that the user decides what are the things they care about rating, and that's what shows up here. Yeah,
True.
that's a good reason that wasn't the reason that either Charlie or I were talking about it. But yes, that's a good reason.
Yes.
Yeah. So we could try that too. What I want to do is actually add some features. So we did some refactoring. Next time would be nice to add some features. So we make this thing happen. So in order to make features, we need someone who is a product manager to tell me what features need to be made.
That's the product manager.
That's their job. I'm only slightly joking, but actually seriously, what feature do we want to add next?
Right there, project manager.
Yeah, that's right. Satch is right there. Satch, product manager, you need to tell us what we're gonna do next in our app, because I'm at a loss for what to do next. Our app is just so perfect already.
We should incorporate blockchain somehow.
Oh, Charlie's really good at trolling.
I'm glad you're catching on.
Shall we create the Livre token?
Oh my god.
The beginning.
You
This app is really just a farm for Livre tokens.
oh
So,
my gosh, Rickles and
Do we
Charlie.
have like a profile page
No, we
where
don't.
you can edit your information.
Oh,
Like,
that's
'cause,
good. Profile
like right now,
page.
your name is set, right? But like, what if you want to have your own profile and you change your information, personal information?
There's that. Yeah. We can also think about just graphics, like making something fancy looking. Like, how many apps really are just a list of entries that you click on and you can edit? It'd be nice to just like spruce up what we have to make it look real nice. We might take some inspiration by steal. I mean, when I say take some inspiration, I mean steal some inspiration from, I don't know, we can look at Goodreads and see how they've done things and just see things. And Satch actually originally had some idea of showing like an actual bookshelf. It might be fun to like try and draw a bookshelf.
I want to do it.
Oh my god. Graphics. Oh my god. I'm running for the hills.
Yeah, back-end engineer. Just mention like user experience or graphics animation, and
Like
they're out.
For me, I would have thought about like adding like a passcode, so you have to enter a passcode to go in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You think I'll probably do books taste?
Yeah. Okay. You want to try and do a bookcase?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's the plan then. Next week we're gonna make, instead of just a list of entries like this. I mean, it's kind of hard for the stream to see, but technically, like it's a list. It's just a list of one right now.
Or we could have lists of books that we already read or that we want to read. So right now the homepage is just listing each individual book.
Yes.
So we can create a category for books.
Ah,
So
that's a great idea. Okay, so right now all you can do is rate a book, but you may want to read list of books you want to read. Okay, on board. What do you think, Charlie? Are you going to run for the hills with that feature, or are you on
No.
board?
I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we can do.
All right.
I say we when I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, I mean,
So
Rickles and
for
Satch are going to
me-
do it.
I always found it really cool when I can integrate with something that I already know that I've used before, like a third-party integration with, I don't know, some sort of mailing service, and you make it send an email to yourself
Uh-huh.
or something like that. Like, I always found that super cool when I was starting out. It's like, oh shit, I can do that. I can send myself an email from my app.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Or, I mean, there's lots of free tier third-party implementations that you can do, but I don't know if that might be too much for the scope of the project.
is that like when you make an account and it goes to your email that you registered? Thing?
That is an email integration, yes.
Yeah. So I think what Charlie is describing is the notion that our app right now is all self-contained, but it could, like hook up with other services. Well, I mean, the only one that's coming to mind right now, which would be weird to do, but you could do, like we could hook up to Goodreads, for example, if they have an API, that is.
And then whenever they have like a new release, you somehow pull that in and
Or
list
like
it out
the
here or
ISBN.
something.
Yeah.
Like you tap into the ISBN database.
I mean, the whole reason why I came up with the idea is because there was a whole section on Goodreads that was missing, where everything has to be public on Goodreads. All of your thoughts about a book have to be public. And that's when I came to have your own private journal.
I see. Well, if that's
Goodreads does have an API.
yeah, if that's the case, then Satch, like, it sounds like we're just making a copy of Goodreads then for personal use. Yeah.
Kind of, but Goodreads is more cataloging your books that you want to read. This one has more details. I guess.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is a cahier, right? Like it is like it's not just for reviewing a book. You want to be able to. So the way I sort of imagined it when you originally pitched it to me was like if you have like a science, like I'm in a science fiction reading book club, right, at work, and we get together once every month and we talk about the book we read. And so my notion of this app was that you could come in and then it might prompt you for the right set of questions. Like normal book reviews are just open-ended. It's like, what do you think about this book? Write some stuff. Whereas it might be more useful to have targeted questions, leading questions, things that help you specifically talk about the book and what it accomplishes in its narrative, right? So, for example, if you're talking about something science fiction and it raised a very interesting what if question, like what if, you know, we invented faster than light travel, how would it affect how we behave as humans? Maybe that's the point of this story. So like leading questions that ask you like, what was the point of this book? And then you can write it. And then to me, like this, the whole idea of Kaye is, beyond Goodreads anyway, is we can write down, you know, what this book means to us, essentially, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, I mean, if that's the case, in terms of features, like really we're just trying to expand this page with the right set of questions, right? Nothing complicated, in other words. It's nice and straightforward. We just need to like start writing in the leading questions.
I have questions already, but they're not leading like that. It's more like, yeah, like how did this book change your perspective, or did it, and like what are your favorite quotes? Like many different questions like that are like you were describing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how about this? Let's create a new text channel in the Discord for Kaye, and let's start putting in the features we want to add. That's the homework for this week. And then we'll pick one of those features to build on the next stream.
Yeah.
Nice.
But your
Sounds good.
Discord is all strange because I didn't know the chats have to be archived after 24 hours
Only if they're inactive.
if they're inactive.
No, that's a thread. A channel doesn't get archived. That was a thread. And that's because nobody's boosted my server yet. Hint,
Does that
hint.
mean every servers that we're on have been boosted?
I guess.
Well,
I don't actually understand.
even then, it only, I think even with the 1 month boosted, it's still like, if it's inactive for 3 days, it'll still get archived. I mean, Discord's essentially streamlining their servers. Like, they don't want them to be flooded with, I guess, some text data. And then, like, so archiving it is, I think, saving them some storage space.
No. It's a cash grab. They just,
Yeah,
it doesn't cost
Chad.
anything. Yeah, Charlie?
What do you use in like at Google for like Messenger? Do you use Slack or like your own internal
We use Google Chat. The one that's
Google Chat?
Yeah, chat.google.com. The one that's just available.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never used it.
Google, gotta be.
Yeah. I was using that with Rickles and Satch before we switched to Discord.
And what do you like better?
Google Chat is so antiquated at this point.
Is there no push to try to use something more modern like Slack or anything like that?
So internally at Google, Chat is kind of different from the public one.
Oh, it's got like some
Oh,
seams and stuff.
exclusive.
I want it.
Exclusive chat.
It's not better than Slack, but I mean the thing is like, yeah, Google employees are in their own bubble. We use our own internal tools.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sort of how things are there. So it is nice for me to use these public tools to learn how things are being done elsewhere.
So many questions.
Oh,
I have to write them down.
okay.
Yeah, write them down, yo.
Write them
I
down.
might
yeah.
ask like Shad questions for like 5 hours.
Okay.
Your stream is an hour 15, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, happy to answer questions. But yeah, I mean, we use Google Chat's fine. I mean, it's the evolution of Hangouts, right? It used to be Hangouts, and now there's
Until they killed
just
it for some reason.
yeah, because they want cash grab. They want to charge money for it, so they moved it to be like a premium only feature of Workspace, Google Workspace. They're basically trying to go like the Microsoft Teams route.
Yep.
Yeah.
Teams sucks, by the way. I use Teams. It's terrible.
Yeah. Well, chat's not especially good either. But I do tend to like Google Meet, which is what Hangouts, the video side of Hangouts became, Google Meet.
Yeah, Meet is pretty nice.
Yeah. But I have to say, Discord is, I think I don't know. It's a little complicated. I keep like clicking on things I don't know and figuring things out, but I like it. It's good.
I think Discord handles concurrency way better than anything else I've used.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Concur-
power of Elixir.
Concurrency? What is concurrency?
Like number of
It's like when
people.
there's like multiple things happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like when I go into like a really populated Discord channel with like 80 people in a voice channel talking, it doesn't like lag or clip out. It sounds like a mess for sure, but it doesn't like the app's not struggling. And that's never happened. Even with Slack, it starts to just get choppy.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I haven't actually. I mean, our Discord server is very, there's hardly anybody in it at this point. We're not famous or popular yet, so I haven't experienced the scaling features of Discord. But I have observed like how valuable it is to be able to like give certain people the ability to do certain things. These are features that don't exist in Meet, in chat, that is Google Chat. And Google Meet is kind of annoying because the public version requires like has a 1 hour limit on how long the video can. So like I was really happy using Google Meet internally, and then I came to use it externally. I'm like, okay, why would anyone use this over any other solution?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm starving. Time for food.
Are you doing a mukbang now?
What's that?
I'm gonna do a mukbang.
What does that mean?
It's just where you get food and then you sit in front of the camera and then
And you eat in front of it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
mukbang. So it's like a Korean culture thing that started out in Korea. Mukbang literally translates to eating broadcast.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know why it got picked up by so many different people. And even in the Western culture, people do a mukbang where they live stream and they order like a ton of food and they're just gorging themselves in front of it. And people just watch.
and they call it mukbangs.
Yep.
They're so
Yeah.
westernized.
It's the English-fied, pronunciation of mukbang. But yeah.
That's that's hilarious. No,
If you Google that, you'll find tons of videos of people doing it, and people actually make a ton of money doing it if you get popular.
I see. Yeah, I don't know how interesting I would be eating food, but I can imagine certain people being interesting eating food. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm gonna try and become popular though, doing this thing, whatever this thing is.
Again, even more questions, lots of questions.
Okay.
You'll have to wait till tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's do it tomorrow. I'm hungry, and I have to probably help with the cooking.
All
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good
All right.
stuff, internets. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Rickles.
Thanks, Ab.
All right. Bye. See you later, internets.
Bye.